Good. So one of the topic is pending, which was our HA part, high availability. In high availability, we had discussed about availability sets. Then we had discussed about availability zones. And our scalability part is pending. Which is called auto scaling group. This one was pending. Now, AWS, within few days ago, AWS has changed the name of this one, like the availability set option and the availability zone. The HA criteria has been changed. They don't have the availability sets option right now. They have changed it. They have changed the entire concept. Availability zone is there, auto scaling group is there, but this concept has been changed and they have introduced some advanced feature into it. So we will have to discuss that new one because old one has been removed now. It is no longer existing. Like it's within few days ago, they introduced, like the concept is same. They have introduced some additional things over here. So what they have done, we had discussed about the availability set. So now what they have done, they have, just give me 1 second. I am getting a call. Yes. So what they have done, instead of availability set, they have defined a broad category, which is called placement groups. So they have introduced one of the concept, which is called placement groups. And now what is this placement group? So let me tell you about this, then we can proceed further with the practical. See, in the placement group, what AWS wants to tell you that how you will organize, how you are going to organize your EC2. Like what they have done, when we create any EC2 instance, what we do, we select one of the region. Just let me log in into the portal first to explain you more. So see, what we do whenever we create any EC2 instance, our first target is to select the region. We are very well aware about it. So we select any region, then we create the EC2 instance. Now in the placement group, what they want to tell you that how you are going to organize your EC2 for higher availability. Like you will have the servers in the company. The servers are very critical. Some servers will be very critical. Some servers will. So placement group tells us that how we are going to place, how we are going to organize the servers, how we are going to organize the EC2 servers in the AWS portal. That is all about the EC2. That is all about the placement group. Now in the placement group, why they have come up with this concept so that we can manage the higher availability part. Like in order to maintain the HA part, the higher availability, so that our servers are available all the time, there should not be any downtime in the crisis situation. So they have organized one of the placement group concept. So it is like grouping. It is like grouping your servers according to the higher availability. So according to your requirement, if it is critical server, you can decide the placement group. If it is less critical server, you can decide it accordingly. So what they have done, they have categorized it into three titles. The first one, like in placement group, they have three types. The first one is cluster. This is the first type of placement group. And the second one is spread. They have come up with the spread. And the third one is partition groups. Third one is partition groups. So this is something like they have introduced. They have three types of placement group in order to organize your EC2. Means in order to set up the servers for higher availability in AWS portal, they have three methods now. They have cluster, they have spread, they have partition groups. So these three are the types. So far, everything is clear. Any doubt, any question?
No, clear.
Good.
Clear, sir.
So now let's talk about the cluster part. What is this cluster all about? So if you want to keep your EC2 instance in the cluster method of placement group, then what will happen? What kind of advantage you will get? What kind of disadvantage you will have? So let me open the Paint. So if you will create a placement group as cluster, if you will use the first method as cluster for the placement group for your placement of the EC2, then as we know, we have already discussed that in the backend, what happens, whatever EC2 we create, suppose this is my EC2 on the AWS portal. This is my AWS portal. And on the AWS portal, we have created one of the EC2 instance. Now this EC2 instance will be created in a physical server. In the backend, AWS will have the data center. They will have a physical data center. We already know about it. So they will have a physical data center. In the physical data center, as we discussed last, they will have one of the rack. So this is their database location. This is their data center. In the data center, they will be having one of the rack. And in the rack, we will have multiple servers. Like we will have multiple physical servers and they all will be fitted into the rack, just like this. So they all will be fitted into the server. And whatever EC2 instance we create, that will be created into one of these servers. Like there will be the collection of multiple servers in the backend like this. It will look like this, like the rack server. 2 more persons. Admit all. So it will look like this. In reality, these kind of server exist in the market. So these kind of servers will be there. This will be fitted into a rack. Whenever we create the EC2 instance from the portal or whatever resource we create from the portal, one of the resource, like suppose in the case of EC2 instance, so EC2 instance will be created inside one of these servers. Like there will be random servers collection as a cluster in a rack, and EC2 will be created on any of the random server, on any of the random physical machine. That's the concept by default. Now, when we talk about the cluster, if we have selected the cluster option in the placement group for higher availability, then what happens whenever you will create any EC2 instance, it will get created in a rack. It will be created in a rack. Suppose you need HA, you need higher availability, and you have selected two EC2 instance copy. Suppose you have selected two EC2 instance copy for higher availability. That if one is down, if one server is down, then another one should be able to pick up the load. That's something you have selected. So in such condition, what is going to get happen if you will select the cluster option? So in the cluster option, the 2 copies of the EC2 instance will be created in the same rack. It will be in the same rack, but there are chances that it will be on the different physical servers. Like suppose this is one of the rack, 1 copy of the server will be there on this particular physical server. Another copy will be saved here in this physical server. So this is called cluster. Cluster means all the physical servers will be connected to each other in the rack, and multiple copies of the instances, whatever copy you will select, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 accordingly. So that will get created in different physical servers, but they all will be the part of same rack. Means same rack and same availability zone. Same availability zone means, what is availability zone? If you can remember, can anyone tell me what is availability zone? Anyone?
Yeah, the data centers availability. So,
See, availability zone means, as I told you, in the AWS or any cloud service provider, what they have done, suppose when we talk about the East US region, if we want to create our resources in the East US, so in the East US, for the higher availability, they will have multiple data centers, multiple physical data center units. So in the same region, in the same country, they will be having multiple physical data center unit. Means one of the data center will be there in a particular area in East US, another one will be there in another area in the East US, and the third one will be there in another area. So all the units will be 100 miles away. All the units, all the data center in a region will be 100 miles away to each other. Means the distance between one and the second data center will be 100 miles. 100 miles, I don't know what it will be in the kilometer. 1 mile in kilometer, so it will be around, okay, 2 miles is equal to 1 kilometer around. No, it's in meter. 2 miles is equal to 3 kilometers around. So 100 miles would be around 30 kilometers something. So they will be in the radius of 100 miles with each other, if we talk about the distance part. Now, just for the availability, that if one site is down, suppose we have 3 sites, we have 3 physical data center in the East US location. If one data center is down, if one physical site is down due to any issue, then we have 2 another backups available. So we can go with the another one. If second one is down, then we have third one as availability. So that's called availability zone. Availability zone means in a particular region, the AWS will have different physical data centers. That is called availability zone. So that if one is down, we have another one. Just like if I go to the portal, here in my AWS portal, you can see, if I click on the region part, here you can see it's East US. East US 1 means the location is East US. And this one is the first data center where it is available. It is in North Virginia. So first unit, first physical data center is in East US. It is East US 1, and the location where it is available, it's in North Virginia city. And in the East US, they have another data center, which is data center number 2, and it is there in the Ohio city. So they have different data centers, so that in case one of the East US is down, suppose North Virginia site is down, then they have the backup available in the Ohio. So they will transfer all the workload to the Ohio location. Similarly, in the West US, see, in the West US, this is the region. So they have 2 data center. They have 2 physical data center. First one is in North California and another one is in Oregon location. And this one is 2. In some location, in some regions, they have 3 data center as well. Just like here, you can see in Asia Pacific, they have one of the data center in Asia Pacific South. The first data center is in Mumbai. The second one for Asia Pacific is in Northeast, which is in Seoul. And the third one is in Osaka. The third. So they have 3 in the Asia Pacific location. Then see, they have another one also for the Southeast. For the Southeast, they have in Singapore, Sydney. For Northeast, they have in Tokyo. So they have different data centers in different part of the regions. Minimum they will be having 2. Maximum it can be anything. I have shared the list with you as well. There was one of the link that I have shared with you. So you can go through with that and you will have the idea about it. So availability zone is for the higher availability. So in availability zone, in one particular region, just pick any of the region, just like East US. In East US, they will have multiple physical data center. So that if one unit is down due to any issue, the load can be transferred to another one. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Now, in the cluster placement group kind of setup, all the EC2 instance copies will be in the same rack. It can be in different physical server, but they all will be the part of same rack. Plus, they will be in same availability zones. Suppose I have created 3 copies of the server. Just for the higher availability, I have created 3 copies of the server and I have selected the option as cluster in the placement group. Now 3 copies will be created, but they will be created in the same rack. It can be in different physical server, but they will be the part of same rack. Plus, they will be the part of same availability zone. Means all these 3 EC2 instances will be created in the same data center unit. They will not be distributed across different data centers. Understood? If I have selected East US, suppose, let me show you from the portal. If I have selected this location, East US data center number 1 in the same data center. In North Virginia, I have one data center. So it will be created in this data center only. And they all will be the part of same rack. So if one is down, if the complete rack is down, suppose, because everything is available in the same rack, and they all are part center. So if in case my servers will be down, even though I have 3 copies of the same server, but all the servers will get down in this condition because my rack is down. Or suppose my rack is working, my rack is okay, but my availability zone is down. Suppose these all 3 EC2 instances are available in the East US and East US North California location is down. So in this condition, again, I will not be having my servers available. So this is the disadvantage of the cluster placement group, that all the servers will be the part of same rack, will be the part of same AJ, same availability zone. So in case the rack is down, we will lose our servers. In case the availability zone means the physical unit is down, again, we will lose the access of our servers. But there are advantages. There are advantages of this kind of setup. What is the first advantage? Advantage is great network. It will offer you excellent network because by default, all the servers will be connected to each other. Means in the rack, like this kind of rack, all the servers will be connected to each other. Here you can see everything is connected to each other. And by default, the connectivity speed will be 10 Gbps. It will be 10 Gbps. Just give me 1 second. I'm again getting a call. Yeah, I'm back. So it will offer you the great network, like all the servers will be connected to each other with 10 Gbps of network. So it will offer you excellent speed. So there won't be any latency issue, means there won't be any connectivity issue, the slowness issue. But what is the disadvantage? The disadvantage is, in case if the rack is down, then we will lost the connectivity of all the server. Yes, Seth.
Sir, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Sir, in Mumbai location, there are 3 data center, right?
Right.
So, sir, uh, in portal of AWS, where it was showing the region, it should, why it is not showing like Mumbai region 1 and only one Mumbai is showing.
Which one?
Sir, here, like
Here in this location.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
actually, see why we are unable to see most of the region here, because this is free trial account actually. So in the free trial account, most of the regions will not be applicable to the user. Like if we want to create the resource in a particular region, so that will not be allowed, because for free trial they have selected the region and they have given to us, but in reality they have a lot of regions, but that is for the paid users.
Sir,
So we
for
can only
Mumbai,
create our resources in these locations only.
sir, for Mumbai, it is showing only one data center, right? Asia Pacific Mumbai.
On the portal, yes, it is
Yes,
only
sir.
one.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we don't have all the region access, because we are using the free tier account. So we don't have the access of all the region. The paid users have all the access. Same thing applies to Azure as well. If you are using the free tier account, then you will not get all the options.
In reality,
Means,
it will show AP South 1, AP South 2, and AP South 3. 3 data
yeah, right,
center.
right. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So the advantage of cluster kind of placement setup is the network speed will be high, but the disadvantage part is, in case if any of the rack is down, then the servers will be down. So we will lost the connectivity of all the EC2 instances at the same time. Now, where we use this kind of setup, if we have this kind of limitation, there is a limitation, then why this kind of concept has been given? So this concept has been given for those kind of project where we need the less latency, the fast speed, where we need the processing speed at a fast rate. Like processing speed would be required at the fast rate. So they use the cluster kind of setup. And for an example, if I give you the example of that, so that would be your big data. You might have heard about the big data concept. In the big data, we have a lot of data for processing. We have a big chunk of data for the processing in Hadoop, Cassandra. And for that kind of concept, let me mute you all. I think someone is traveling. So in the big data kind of environment where we have the big data concept, the Hadoop concept, where we need the high processing of the data, we don't have much time, we need less latency, great network. So those kind of projects will have the cluster setup in the big data processing. So they will be having the cluster setup, because the work should be completed as soon as possible during the big data processing test. So they use this kind of concept. The another one is spread. Now, what is spread? So in the spread, what will happen? Your EC2 instance, suppose you want to create 4 copies of the EC2 instance. So in the spread concept, 4 copies of the EC2 instance if you want to create, so that will be created, but that will be the part of different availability zones. Like your EC2 instance will be created in different data centers. So it will be the part of different data centers. Suppose you have selected the location during the resource creation, you have selected this location, US East. So what will happen? Your EC2 instance will be created in this data center. Another copy will be created in another East US location. If you have selected 4, and only 2 availability zones are available, then another third copy will be created in the East US 1 again, and the fourth copy will be again created in the East US 2. So in the spread concept, what will happen? Your EC2 instances will be created in different availability zone. They will be the part of different data center. They will be the part of different rack. So in case if one availability zone is down, we have the backup available with another one. If second one is down, if we have created 3 copies, so third copy will be available in another site. That's the advantage of spread. So in this condition, in the spread, if there is any failure, we can manage that. We will have the ability to handle that failure because we have different physical hardwares. So hardwares are different, of course, because one copy is available in one availability zone, another one is available in another one. So hardware is different. Plus, we are getting the availability. We have a good availability in the spread. But what is the disadvantage? We have the advantage of this. We will get a good availability. We will get a good higher availability. But what is the disadvantage? So disadvantage is that in a single group, if we create a placement group and we select the option as spread, so maximum we can create 7 copies of EC2 instance. Means in a spread kind of concept, only 7 EC2 instances can be created in a group, in a placement group. That is the limitation, but that is not a limitation. We cannot say this is one of the limitation. 7 copies enough. If one is down, we have second one. If second one is down, we have third one. But yes, for the production scenario, for big production like YouTube, for YouTube company, for Google company, this one is limitation because they have a chunk of data to get processed. So they have the critical servers in line. YouTube have more than 7. They will be having around 100 or 200 server for data streaming. Whatever video you watch, whatever streaming happens on the YouTube. So we don't think that they will be having 7-10 server. They will be having a big chunk of servers, maybe 500, 600, 700 for the same task. So this kind of concept is not useful for this kind of scenario. Like spread is not useful for that kind of scenario where we need the high level of data processing. Just like for video streaming, this one is not a good option. But yes, for HA part, for higher availability, this one is good. So where we use this spread concept? So we use it in the application scenario with the software servers that needs maximum availability. Means we have some of the server which is very critical and we need the higher availability. If one is down, then we should have another one available just to manage the load. So in those kind of scenario, we use the spread. For critical workload and all, we use the spread. Now the last one is partition groups. Now what is this partition group all about? So in the partition group, what will happen? Suppose this is my data center number 1 in a region. This is my data center number 2 in a region. And this is my data center number 3 in a region. These all belong to suppose East US, US East. Now we have selected the partition option. For higher availability, we want to go with the partition groups. We want to select this partition. So in the partition, what will happen? The same thing like your spread. It is going to create multiple copies of the server in the different hardware. And they will be the part of different availability zone. Like suppose you have selected East US location for your servers, then one copy will be created in first availability zone. Another one can be created in another availability zone, means another data center. And the last one can be created in another physical data center. So your EC2 instances will be spread across different data center in a same region. It will not go to the different region. It will be the part of same region. And we can have 100 EC2 instances we can have 100, maximum 100 EC2 instances in a group. Means for the same task, we can create 100 copies of the server. And one more thing, these copies of the server, suppose we have created 100 copies of the server and we only have 3 availability zone. In the East US, suppose we have 3 availability zone. In reality, how many we have? Let me see. In reality, in the East US, we have 2. It is showing 1 or 2. First one is North Virginia. Second one is in Ohio. So suppose we have, let's forget about this one. We have 2 availability zone in the East US location, North Virginia and Ohio location. We want to go with the 100 copies of server. It means first 50 will be created here. Another 50 will be created in another availability zone, because we don't have 100 availability zone in the East US, only 2. So it will be distributed equally. Now, one more thing, it will be distributed equally, but these 50 EC2 instances will not be the part of same rack. It will not be the part of same rack. As I told you, when you create the servers, EC2 instances, that will be created inside one of the physical server in a rack. So if you have 100 copies of the server that you want to distribute across availability zone, and you want to select the option of partition groups. So in this condition, first 50 copy will be created in first availability zone, but they will not be the part of same rack. All the 50 EC2 instances will not be created in the same rack. Why? Because if the entire rack is down, then all the 50 servers will get down at the same time. So they will be the part of different rack. Why? If you remember, I had discussed the concept of availability set. In the availability set, I had told you that there can be unplanned scenario, unplanned maintenance, and there can be planned maintenance. So during the unplanned maintenance, suppose my rack is down, my power supply is not available. My power supply is not available. My entire rack is down. So my servers will not be available. My EC2 instances will not be available in such condition. And if I want to do any planned maintenance, like I want to upgrade any hardware of the server, or I want to update any server, I want to do the patching activity. So during that condition, I will have to restart the servers. I will have to restart the rack. So during the planned and unplanned scenario, if you will keep all the servers in the same rack, if you will have all the servers available in the same rack, and this rack is getting restarted because of any failure, there is no power supply, so this rack got restarted. So in such condition, you will lose the 50 servers connectivity. 50 servers will be down for your company. So what concept has been given in the partition group? It is same like your availability set that we discussed in the last session. In the availability set, what happens? The multiple copies of the server will be created, but they will be the part of different racks. Just like here, you can see we have different rack. So first copy can be here, second copy can be here, third copy can be here. Maybe we have 50 copies, and but we have 10 racks. So in such condition, 3 to 4 copies can be the part of same rack, but they can be the part of different physical server. So in case my rack is restarted, so I will have another copies available in the different rack. Or if my physical server is restarted, if rack is okay, but one of the physical server got restarted, still I will be having the availability. So that is the partition option. That is the partition group option. It is same like your AS, the availability set. So they have introduced 2 different concepts. This one is new, cluster and the spread, but this one is the availability set, exactly availability set. But they have introduced some additional feature here. What they have done, it will be the part of availability set, means it will be the part of different racks, but they will also be in the different availability zones. In the availability set, all the machines, all the EC2 were the part of same data center. But in this area, in the partition group, all the EC2 instances are the part of different availability zone, plus they will not share the same rack. They will be the part of different racks. So this one has got higher feature as compared to these two. This one will have a good advantage. If one data center is down, we have another one available. If one rack is down, still we will be having the servers available as a availability. So this one is good, but this one is very costly. If someone wants to go ahead with this feature, then this one will be very costly as compared to others. Understood?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
where the company goes with this partition group option, so it is mostly for the databases like SQL database, MySQL database. They have suppose Cassandra. Again, I am getting the call from office. कुछ बंदे ना दिमाग खाते हैं. Just give me 1 second. Yes. So it is used in the database kind of setup, like Cassandra is one of the database. Hadoop is one of the database. Kafka. You will heard this name if you will be the part of DevOps in future, or if you will be managing the database servers in company, then you will heard about these names: Kafka, RabbitMQ, RabbitFQ. Then we have HDFS, etc. So in these kind of scenario, in these kind of servers, generally they will go with the partition group option. Otherwise, if they have very critical server, just like take an example of Flipkart website, if in any of the EC2 we have hosted the Flipkart website, then definitely they will proceed with the partition group option just for the availability part. So these three options they have given in the placement group, and this one is no longer available. This one has been removed. So instead of this, they have added this one with new feature, with additional add-on, which is called availability zone. Means machines, the EC2 will be created in different data center. It will be the part of different AZ, plus they will not share the same rack. So company can proceed with their servers as cluster. It can be in the same rack and it will be in the same availability zone, but there will be disadvantage. If the rack is down, then our servers will not be available. Company can go with the spread. In the spread, we will have multiple copies of the EC2 instances, and it will be distributed across different availability zones as well. And in the partition group also, it will be distributed across different availability zones, but they will not share the same rack in the same data center. So they will be sharing the different racks. So rack failure will not impact the performance of these servers. So these three groups they have given, these three placements they have given, and they have given the name as placement groups. So let's see how to create, how to do the practical of this. So I am on the AWS portal. You need to go to the EC2 because these all are related to the server. These all have higher availability. So you will go to the EC2. You can search it here. You know very well how to go. You can search it here. You can go to service. You can go to compute option. From here, you can go to EC2. So you need to go to the EC2 option. In the EC2 option, currently, if I show you my instances, so there are no instances. I don't have any instance available. I don't have any servers. If I will scroll it down on the left side, here you can see there is an option of placement group. See, I am on the EC2 instance option. Let me show you from the beginning again. You need to go to the EC2 option. Once you will open the EC2, on the left side, scroll it down and you will get one of the option as placement group in the network and security. See, so just click on it. Here you can see I don't have any placement group available. There is no placement group available right now. So what we need to do, we need to create one of the group first. Then we will create the EC2 servers, and those EC2 servers will be the part of this placement group according to the criteria. If we want to go with the cluster, we will create the cluster placement group. If we want to go with the spread, we will go with the spread. If we want to create the partition groups, then we can have that. So currently I don't have any group available. So let's create. You will click on the create placement group option. It is going to create a folder. You can say it is going to create one of the container. In the container, in the folder, you will have 3 options. And 3 options will have different purpose. So you can place your servers accordingly in each of the options. So I just click on the create a placement group option. You need to define any name. You can give any name, but in the company, the name will be decided by the architect. So you will get the name as per your architecture. So for our demo, we are giving one of the name as PG01, placement group 01. Strategy. What is your strategy? How do you want to place your servers? How do you want to place your EC2? See, do you want to go with the cluster? Do you want to go with the spread? Do you want to go with the partition? So if you want to go with the cluster, you will select the cluster option. If you want to add any tag, tags are always optional. If you want to, then you can, otherwise leave it. So first I will create cluster group. Click on create group option. It's done. Placement group created successfully. And we have the name PG01. And this one is the group ID. And this is cluster. Status is available. Let me create one more group. So create placement groups. And I am giving a new name. It's raining here, heavily raining. Second one, suppose I want to go with the partition or spread. It's up to you. Suppose I want to go with the partition. See, here it is saying, just give me 1 second. So see, when you will go with the partition option, it is saying that how many partition you want to create. Partition means group. So how many groups you want to create means how many racks you would like to have your servers. See, 7. You can have 7 different racks in the same availability zone. Minimum it can be 1. If you want to keep all the servers in the same rack, 1. If you want to distribute them within 2, then it will be 2. So you can select the number of racks accordingly. Then the servers will be created in the different racks. Now let's click on create group option. So again, it got created. So similarly, you can also create the spread placement group. Suppose I have created 2, cluster and the partition. Now these 2 are my groups. These 2 are my placements, organization or organizers. Now here I want to create the EC2 instance. So in order to create the EC2 instance, you know the process. We need to go to the instance option now. Here I don't have any EC2 available. So let's launch. So let's launch. So let me give one of the name to this EC2 instance. So server 01. I am giving server 01. Is my voice okay? Is there any breakage?
Okay.
Okay, sir.
सही है ना, ठीक है, because it's raining heavily. बारिश हो रही है यहाँ पे बहुत तेज. I'm still in the hilly area, the outskirt area for the vacation. So all the things I will select, key pair and all. Key pair, suppose I am selecting this H1. I already have the key pair. If you want to create new, you can. I have the old one available. Scroll down, all the settings will be same. In the advanced detail, once you will go to the advanced details, again scroll down, you will get one of the option of placement group. Placement group, see. Here you need to decide in which group you want to keep this server. So here you can decide it. If you don't have any placement group, you can create a new here. Suppose we already have 2 placement group, but still I want to create a new one, then I can also do it. So I can do it. Now what we want to do, we already have 2 placement group. So I want to make this EC2 instance the member of my partition group. So I will select the name of my groups are coming, the placement group names are coming here. And the second one, the PG02, it's my partition group. See, so I will select this one. Then the same thing, see, it is saying in which partition you want to create this. So we have selected 2 options, 1 or 2. So I want to create this in the second rack. So second. Now everything will be same. We are not going to change anything here. This is same. The only thing was we need to select the placement group here. And if it is partition group, then we need to select the rack. Then just click on launch instance. That's it. Now we will have the availability. We will have the availability as per the partition. So it got created. So I have one of the EC2 instance. And if I click here, then see here, you can see it is the member of placement group 02, PG02. And this one is the ID and the partition number is 2. It is the member of partition group number 2. And if you go to your placement group in the left side, PG02. So here you can see there is no option, like you cannot click. So this is just like a container. You cannot click and go inside. You will have to check it from the instance option. It is just got created. In case you want to check which server is the member of this particular group, so you will have to check it from the instance option. Similarly, if I want to create a second server here, let's go to the instance. Let's launch one of the instance here. Now I am giving the name as server 02. The same thing, select your image, select the key pair or create the key pair. The same advanced detail. In the placement group, you need to select the group name. So where is the placement group? Placement group. This one. So here I will go with the PG01 now. I will select the cluster group now. So in the cluster, see, it is not giving me further option because it is automatically going to decide in which cluster, in which rack the EC2 will be created, in which physical server it will get created. So that's the reason I will not get any option to select the rack, because rack option selection is not in my hand. It is only in my control in the partition group. Here the AWS is going to decide in which particular rack this EC2 instance will get created. So just launch instance. That's it. It's done. Cluster placement group are not supported. Oh, it is saying that cluster group cannot be supported in the T2 micro. So we need to change the configuration. But we cannot change that because you know very well that we are using the free tier. So we will not be able to use the cluster option, because as I told you, cluster is for higher availability for less latency. In case we need the higher performance, highest speed on the servers, then we will go with the cluster option. So T2 micro is just like 1 GB of RAM. I think it is offering. See, T2 micro have 1 CPU, 1 GB of RAM. So in 1 GB of RAM, you cannot create a high dense level of servers. That's the reason it is not allowing me to create the cluster. I cannot make this server as the member of cluster. I will have to change the tier. So in order to change the tier, I need to select here, and I can select the tier accordingly. But again, this one is not free tier eligible. See, I have selected this one, but this is not free tier eligible. If I select it, if I launch the instance, see, T2 extra large. Again, here it will not support it. So 8 GB of RAM is also not enough. So you will have to go with the highest to highest configuration. That I will not do, because if I will go with the highest to highest configuration, then there will be high charges. So you know very well now how to select the group placement, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
So
Sir,
don't go with this placement. If you will select the highest option, then AWS is going to bill you. So don't attempt that. You should know the step how to do that, but don't attempt that. Even I tried to do it for 16 GB, 8 GB of RAM, but still it is not getting supported. So I will have to take the highest one, and highest one option is not available here. You can see, because I am using the free tier account, so it will not allow me to use the highest one. In case some of the options will be available, so for that AWS will charge me very good, like this one. See, if I will go with the 48 cores of CPU and 384 GB of RAM, I can use this one, I can use this one and all, but the charges will be very high. So don't go with this option. You can do, but charges will be very high. If you can bear it, then go, otherwise leave it. Similarly, if you want to create the spread group, just create it from the placement group section and keep the EC2 instances under this group. That's it. Any question, any doubt?
yeah, sir, in the partition group, when we are, for example, if we taken 7 partitions, does it show how many have been occupied?
No, it will not. You need to select actually. See, if you will select 7 partitions, you need to select during the EC2 creation that in which rack you want to keep it. Suppose you want to keep it in the 4th rack, so you will select the 4th option, just like I have shown you. But you will never be able to see that how many space are left, like how many partitions are left. You will have to
Okay.
check it one by one in the EC2. Okay.
Yeah, by going through the instances, we need to check it.
Yeah, right. So I'm deleting this one. Delete. Type delete and delete. See, it is saying that you cannot delete this one. This is one of the interview question actually. Even in Azure also, in GCP also, if any of the server is the member of any of the higher availability group, you cannot delete that. See, it is saying you cannot delete because it is already in use. Where it is in use? It is in use with the EC2 instance. So it is the part of EC2 for higher availability. So you cannot directly delete this one. Then how will you delete it? So in order to delete this one, you need to remove the membership. You need to disable your EC2 instance. Then only you would be able to delete this. Means if you will terminate your EC2, then only it will be possible for you to delete this one. So once it will be terminated, then only it will be deleted. So it is terminated here. Now let's go to the placement group. This is applicable in each and every kind of concept, whether it is Azure, whether it is this one AWS. You cannot delete, and this is one of the interview question. Interviewer can ask you. It is in use right now. After some time, it will be deleted because it is still shutting down. So it will take few minutes. So interviewer can ask you that can we create the placement group later? Suppose we have the EC2 instance and we already have one of the EC2 instance and we want to make it the member of placement group. So is it possible? So it is not possible after the creation. It has to be done during the creation only. Plus, if any of the EC2 instance is the member of any of the placement group, the placement group cannot be deleted because it is in use. So you will have to terminate the EC2 instance, or you will have to disable the EC2 instance, then only you can delete that. That's one of the interview question. You can make the note out of it. So tell me, this one is clear?
Yes.
Any
Yes, sir, clear.
questions?
Yes, sir.
Any further questions? Any doubt? Now the next one is your app ASG. Auto scaling group. ASG. Now what is ASG? So let me give you one of the example. Suppose you have one of the server, you have one of the EC2 instance. This EC2 instance is hosting your web application. It has your web application, and that is very critical. Just take an example, the direct example of your Flipkart, the Flipkart site. So it is hosting one of the Flipkart site application on this server. This is very critical. And as we know that this one is a public facing server, it is a public facing server. And in the public facing server, what happens? The load, we cannot calculate the load. Sometimes the user can be increased in count, sometimes it can be decreased in count. Today I have 2000 user on my website. Tomorrow I can have 10,000 user, or maybe after 1 hour it can be reduced by 100 of users. So we cannot estimate. We can just take an estimate that during big billion sales, this kind of traffic will come on my web server, but we cannot exactly calculate that how much traffic it will come. Now, looking at the nature, looking at the load, what we want that our server should not be down. If today 100 of users are connecting to my website, so it should be able to provide the website to 100 of the users. If tomorrow 10,000 users are hitting my website, it should be capable to handle the 10,000 load. But how? It depends upon the hardware. It depends upon the hardware configuration of the server. If your server only have the limited hardware, suppose it only has 16 GB of RAM, 4 cores of CPU, then it will not be able to process a big amount of users. Suppose you have 250 GB of RAM, but it can only support 2000 users at the same time. And if you have 3000 users, then again, it will not be able to handle it. So whenever we have the load on the server, it can be increased, the load can be high, or the load can be less. And we want that the server should not get down. It should always be available. It should be able to process the requirement of the user, whether it is a high load, whether it is a less load. But in the real scenario, in the physical on-premises scenario, this task is not possible. It is possible, but this is not achievable at the same time. At the same time, if we know that 2000 users are coming to my website and we want to increase the RAM, storage, and the CPU, so that is not possible, because I will have to purchase the CPU, I will have to purchase the servers, then I will have to connect them, I will have to configure them, then accordingly it can be done. But after 1 hour, suppose if the load gets increased, again we are getting more traffic, then again we will have to purchase. So that's not possible. In the on-premises scenario, that kind of concept is not possible. But in the cloud, we have the scaling option. Scaling option means whenever the requirement gets increased, whenever there is a load on the server, the cloud, the AWS is automatically going to increase the number of servers. It will create the copies of servers automatically. Whenever there is a high load and my current server is not able to process that load, because of the hardware constraint, it is going to increase the number of copies. If I need 10 copies of the server to handle the load of the user, the 10 copies of the server will get created. If I need 20, the 20 will be created. After some period of time, if my load gets decreased, now my load has come down, then I don't need the new number of servers. It is not required to me. Suppose during the load, my server copies got created by 10. 10 new copies got created because the load was very high. But after 1 hour, again, my load has been decreased. Now I want to reduce the copies. I want to reduce the servers. Just like during the Flipkart Big Billion Sale, we need more servers. But after 10 days, 15 days, we will not be needing that amount of servers because the user traffic will be less. So I want to manage my workload. I want to increase the copies of server, or I want to decrease the copies of server as per the user requirement, as per the load on my server. So that is possible. That will automatically happen through auto scaling groups, through ASG. Understood? That's the reason cloud is very famous. Like, it is advantageous. It will not allow your server to get down. If there is a high load, it will automatically get increased. Earlier days, we used to heard that my server is down due to load. Facebook is down due to load. WhatsApp is down due to load. But right now, this kind of situation does not happen because we have the cloud option. We have a huge data center in the backend. So if we need increase in the count of server, that will happen. If we need decrease in the count of server, that will happen automatically. But how? How it will happen? How the auto scaling group will get to know that I need to increase the count or I need to decrease the count? How it will get to know? So it will happen through policies. What policies? Through scaling policies. It will happen through scaling policies. Now, what scaling policies we have available? So we have two kinds of scaling policies available. The first one is scale up and the second one is scale down. It is also called scale out and scale in. So we have two kinds of scaling policies, means increase or decrease policies available in the auto scaling group. The scale up or out, or scale down or in. What is scale up? Scale up means increase the number of servers. Whenever there is a load on one of the EC2 instance, scale up policy will automatically increase the number of EC2s. It will create the copies of EC2 servers as per the requirement. Whenever there is less load, whenever the load get decreased on the server, now we don't need much servers. Now we don't need 100 of copies of the server, then automatically it will reduce, it will decrease the number of CPUs and the number of EC2, not CPUs. The EC2 copies will get decreased. That is called scale down or in. So these two are the policies in the scaling group. Now, how they are going to increase or how they are going to decrease? So that will happen through conditions. What conditions? Scaling conditions. Scaling conditions. Through scaling condition, it is going to determine that I need to increase the server copies or I need to decrease the server copies. So at what level you will give the condition now? So we can give the condition basis on metric and basis on schedule. We can give the condition basis on metric and we can give the condition basis on schedule. What is this metric condition? Metric condition means we will pick the metrics like CPU metrics, the RAM metrics, the network bandwidth metrics. Here we are going to decide we are going to give one of the metric that if the CPU, I have one of the EC2 on my AWS portal. If the CPU consumption is more than 80% for 10 minutes, we will give one of the time and one of the threshold. That if my current CPU consumption is more than 90%, suppose, for 10 minutes of duration, it means there is a load. If the CPU count is, if the CPU consumption is very high, if it is 90% for more than 10 minutes, it means there is a load. So if this is the threshold, then automatically increase my servers by 2, 3, 4, whatever copy you want to create. If it is, if my RAM consumption is more than 95% or 90%, whatever you want to define as per your company policy, then automatically create the copies of my server. That's it. If my network bandwidth consumption is this much, increase the copy of my server. So metric means basis on the resource consumption, you can create the copies of your servers. Then you can also define the scaling policy that if my count has been increased and suppose you have decided that for 15 minutes, after increasing the count of my server, after 15 minutes, if my CPU consumption is now down, if it is down, like if it is showing 35% for another 15 minutes, then automatically decrease the number of EC2s. If 10 copies got created and for 15 minutes, my consumption is 35%, automatically decrease one by one, automatically reduce one EC2 instance and bring it back to the one. So these kind of policy we can define through metric. Another one is schedule. In schedule, what happens if we know very well that during this particular time, my load will get increased. Just like in Amazon or Flipkart scenario, there is a big billion sale. They have the sales option. They have a decided month, New Year sale. In January, they are going to introduce the sales. In October, for Diwali session, they are going to introduce the sales. So that time we know very well that the server count will be increased. So basis on the schedule, you can define the schedule that during October, within this particular date, like from 8th of October to 15th of October, the server should be this much. The EC2 instance count should be this much. After that, it should automatically get decrease. So you can define the schedule as well that on this particular date and time, we know very well that there will be huge load. So server count should be increased automatically. That is called schedule policy, schedule scaling. Any question, any doubt?
Sir, during this process, during the process of auto scaling, if new servers will be created, then it will take some time to install the application and synchronize the data from the.
It will not take. For that, there is an option. There is a user data option in the AWS. In the user data option, what we do, we define one of the script. The automation person is going to define the script. Script means create the copy of server through auto scaling group. After that, I need the application. I need this application to be running on this server. So that application will be automatically installed during the creation of the servers, during the creation of the copies. So it will not take any extra time. During the creation, it will happen automatically through the script. That is called user data script. Understood? Because if it will take time, then it is going to hit the production. Then what is the need of this auto scaling? So automatically this will happen. You need to pass on the script, what activity you would like to have on this server. So automatically it will happen. If you want to install any application, then you need to pass the script. Otherwise, if you don't want to install any further application, if suppose the web server is working there, if there is a web server on the EC2 instance, on the current EC2, as per the scale set rule, if it will increase the EC2 count, then automatically the web server copy will get created. You don't need to install anything. But if you want to install any extra application or something, then you need to pass the script. Understood? Now understood?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Any question?
Sir, this script will help to copy the data from the original
Yes,
server. Okay.
yes, right. Whatever you want to do, you need to write the script and that will happen automatically. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
so
Yes,
that's
sir.
the auto scaling group. Yes,
Auto scaling group will take up as a cluster or
you can call it as cluster, but this one is the automatic cluster. Here you don't need to do it manually. This will happen automatically through the scale in or scale down rules. Okay,
okay, okay.
so in Azure, this auto scaling group option name is VMSS, virtual machine skill set. And these two concepts are same there, scale up and scale down. Conditions are also same in the Azure. In Azure, instead of user data, they have the option of extension, the VM extension. So in order to write the script, we will have to use the VM extension option. Rest of the concept will be same. All the cloud have the same option, the same concept. The name is different. The functionality is different. In AWS, they have additional feature. In Azure, they don't have that kind of things are there only. In Azure, there might be some additional feature, but in AWS, that won't be available. But concepts somehow are same. The theory are same mostly. Mostly the theory are same, like 75% cases, it is same. So this is your auto scaling group in AWS. We have to see the practical of this one. So we'll see it not today. Actually, it is time consuming practical. I will have to show you the concept. So tomorrow I will show you this practical, and this option we have to use auto scaling group. So we will see this practical, and tomorrow I will also start the EC2 storage. EC2 storage part that is pending on the EC2. So these two topics will be completed by tomorrow. This one is not very big topic, it's small, and auto scaling group will be completed by tomorrow. From next weekend onward, I will start the storage account and load balancer. This topic I will start from Saturday onwards. So tomorrow at 9, we will cover these two part, like EC2 storage account part plus your auto scaling group practical. That's it. So that's it for the day. We will connect tomorrow and we will proceed further. Let me delete all such things. So thank you very much for your time. Have a good night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you.
Right, sir.